Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chris Farfoy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I grew up in a state house. It was something that I'm very proud of, and the fact that a number of Labor governments sought to ensure that a family like mine could have an affordable home is something that I want to make sure that I protect that right for low-income Kiwi families. It's one of the fundamental reasons why I'm here. The beauty of having that state home for me and my family was having an anchor in our community. It meant we weren't moving around from school to school. It meant we got to know the neighbours well. We ended up becoming very close friends with neighbours, and we had a sense of community. These kinds of things allegedly mean nothing to the National Party.
That's right.
Because not only are they speaking against security of tenure with private rentals, we've seen their actions with state homes. And that's why I commend this piece of legislation, because it looks to give some of those simple things to families who are looking to rent homes. And whether the government likes it or not, there are a hell of a lot more people facing the reality of being lifetime renters.
That's right.
Because they can't get themselves on the property ladder because house prices have gone up so much, or it's too difficult for them to get a deposit, that they face never being able to buy a home. Now, Mr. Speaker, I met someone in my community last week who admitted to me that while he and his wife were trying as hard as they could, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to identify him because I visited him last week, they had given up to the fact that they were going to be lifetime renters. So the National Party has spent tonight painting a picture of tenants as the worst possible kind of person that you could have. Right. The people who kind of leave rubbish behind and don't fulfil their obligations as good tenants. But there are a hell of a lot of people out there who are good tenants. And there are a hell of a lot more, and that will grow, unfortunately, as long as this government keeps the policy settings as they are, and good, hard-working New Zealanders face the reality that they can't buy a home.
That's right.
So, in that respect, more and more people need some protection. So, for that reason, this is a great piece of legislation to make sure there is some security of tenure. There is some security of tenure for those people who feel like perhaps, and yes, most landlords are good, but perhaps, despite what their residential tenancy agreement says, a year after they get into it, the market is so flooded with people wanting to get into homes, they could find themselves where the landlord says, actually, out you get, I've got somebody else that can go in that home. And that's what we need to make sure doesn't happen, and has to be enshrined in legislation to give some of those basic protections to tenants who are looking to sign up for a tenancy. And again, I go back to my first point. A home is an anchor for a family. If they are not moving from community to community, their kids are going to the same school. They're in the same class following their mates. They've got a local doctor. They've got a local sports club. They're feeling part of the community. Right. Maybe their parents work in that community. And that's a kind of thing that is the absolute building block of a good New Zealand family. If you don't have that, if you are moving around, if your child is going from class to class, school to school, which could happen if you don't have security of tenure, then it's going to be harder for that child, it's going to be harder for that family to make what I think is a good start out in life. And I think it's time for this government to start looking after people who are struggling to make ends meet. And it's not people always at the bottom of the heap on the lowest income. It is people on good incomes who are struggling to get a deposit together.
That's right.
Because they and therefore can't buy a house. And I like the person that I met last week who was saying, hey, we're on good incomes, but we've got family commitments to make and we can't rub a deposit together.
That's right.
So how about the government think about those people, and unfortunately there are more of them, who need some protection to make sure that their families can have anchors in their communities, so their families can have the start in life that I got and hopefully be successful. Why can't the government do that?
That's right. Good question.